Patience. That's the big word this week for the Jacksonville Jaguars, especially on offense, and I'll tell you about it here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. I am Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast. As a credentialed member of the Jacksonville Jaguars media, I've covered this team for 2 decades professionally, and I think I have a pretty good idea of what's going on, and I have my finger on the pulse of this team, and I'd like to share some of those ideas with you each and every day here on this show. Shout out to the everydayers who join us each and every day and watch and listen wherever they get podcasts. We appreciate them, and we also appreciate their time. And if you're new here, well, we welcome you also to the show. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. All right, I'm going to give you a little bit of a roadmap and where we're going. We're going to talk about Travis Hunter and his role. Apparently, people are saying that they're using him incorrectly. I'll tell you why I disagree with that. Right in the middle, Trevor Hunter and the friends must execute. This is going to be the biggest thing for this team this week, and we'll discuss that. But we're going to start talking about patience. Patience is the key to Game 4. The team travels to San Francisco. They're making a trek out west. Liam Cohen spoke to the media today and said that they're just going to do everything a little bit similar to keep guys on the same clock. Just going to do it a little bit earlier than what the clock suggests when they're going out west, but they're leaving a little bit earlier Saturday. And to try to normalize them playing on the West Coast, because it is a little bit different on your body. But I don't think that's going to be an issue. What will be an issue is if you don't execute. And at times this year, and I'm speaking just specifically since the regular season has started, the Jaguars have had, maybe not all game, but they've had these moments where they got impatient or that things kind of just got off the rails a little bit and they weren't able to execute the plays that they should, whether it be with drops, getting down in distance messed up because of pre-snap penalties, more drops, and then plays that just don't work. Like when Trevor goes back and he just throws the ball at somebody's feet because, okay, yeah, that wasn't a good one, right? The 49ers present a problem with the way that they play their coverage, right? The way that they play their coverage, they really run shell. They play a lot of off, and they really make you go on these long, long drives, as Liam Cohen discussed today. You can't get greedy. You just can't. You have to be willing to deal with that all game. The fact that it won't be big plays, it won't be chunk plays unless somebody just blows a coverage or misses a tackle. They really design everything to force you to do something that the Jaguars have really not done as well as we would hope. And that is just to stick to the game plan, be patient. If it takes 14 plays, it takes 14 plays. We saw Detroit do it the other night, even though they were hitting chunk pass plays and running plays. Detroit against Baltimore, they had 2 drives, 2 that were over 90 yards. One of them was 98 yards, and I think it took like 8-9 minutes off of the clock. And if y'all remember when the Jaguars played the 49ers here a few years back, they started the game with a 13-minute drive that went like 91 yards. I think it was like 18 plays, 91 yards, and it took almost the whole first quarter. The fact that they did that was demoralizing, but they kind of switch it around and they try to force you to do the same thing. And what that means is they want to see, if you're a team that messes up, they feel like the more chances they give you, the more you're going to screw it up. That's what they believe. The more chances they give you, look, bend, but don't break, keep everything in front of you and run like the wind. Eventually they're going to mess up. You have to be a very disciplined team in order to play with the San Francisco 49ers and have a chance. Now, they're 3-0. They're one of those teams that's banged up. If you watch the games that they won, they haven't blown anybody out like that. They haven't looked overly impressive. And now they're without Nick Bosa for the rest of the year. Christian McCaffrey is still Christian McCaffrey, but he's not that Christian McCaffrey. I don't even know if Brock Purdy's going to play. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe Mac Jones plays. But whatever the Jaguars have to do to overcome getting impatient, to overcome lack of execution, that's what they're going to have to do. And then defensively, what they'll have to do is make sure that they don't get schemed up, and they have to trust their eyes, and they have to play ball, because 49ers with you a lot of misdirection, a lot of boots, a lot of quarterback keepers and throwing to the tight end. George Kittle ain't gonna play, but their system is their system. And what Kyle Shanahan traditionally does is he challenges everything about you being where you're supposed to be on defense. So it's a big game for the Jags in terms of the micro look at it. They have to take it one play at a time, and they have to be cool with doing that. The other thing is they got to be patient as an organization. They can't be looking ahead. They can't think that they have to handle what's in front of them. They can't think that, okay, they're all banged up. Yeah, they're 3-0. They ain't really that good. It's not true. This is the NFL. Cleveland beat Green Bay, for God's sake, okay? Anybody can get you. Don't look at their injury list. Don't look at the guys that are banged up and think that this is going to be sweet and think that this is going to be easy. You have to understand it's not going to be chess. It's not going to be checkers. It's going to be chess. In checkers, you can end the game with a series of moves and jumps all over the place. With chess, you have to be patient, and you have to make sure that you're tight in a whole bunch of ways, and then not look past this game because those guys are banged up. And don't look towards Kansas City. So this is my message to the fans. They got a chance to go 3-1 here. I heard something yesterday. They said, well, look, if they lose this, they're 2-2, and if they can come back here on Monday night and upset the Chiefs, they'll be 3-2, and we'll take that after 5 games. If you could be 5-0, why wouldn't you take that? We can't keep lowering our expectations based on histrionics and the past, and I think too much of that is going on. I want this team to win because I want them to beat Cincinnati because they were the best team on the field that day. I think they're the best field on the team this week. I don't care what their record was last year or what we can tolerate or what we're looking for. If they could be 5-0, I want them to be 5-0. I'll tell you about Trevor and friends, meaning Trevor and his wide receivers, why they have to play better and they have to have short memories. Talk about that here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, y'all. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Y'all know football season, man. It is right here. We're in the thick of the first quadrant of the football season, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. That's it, $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You heard me, $300. I tell you what, I love FanDuel, man, because it's the most consistent. You can look up data, get information prior to you making your selections. It is just absolutely fun to play, and it keeps you engaged whether your team is winning or losing. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Moving and grooving here on Locked On Jaguars, where it is your team every day. The Jags have a big game this weekend against the 49ers. They would look a lot better if they're 3-1. Shout out, and by the way, we'll have our crossover episode with Locked On 49ers. I have that up for you first thing in the morning. We're going to do that bright and early so you can get all greased up listening to that. So make sure you check that out because we love doing those crossover Thursdays. I just believe that this game is, I'm going to use an old Tupac title, All Eyes on Me. It's not all eyes on me. It's all eyes on we. And what that means for me is everybody has to do their job, and everybody has to be, there's a fine line between trying to be the hero and just being a dude that's accountable that's going to go out and make a play, right? I want everybody to go out and make a play. If you ask me why the receivers are dropping balls or Trevor Lawrence has all of these drops, it isn't necessarily because of one thing. Do I think ball placement can be better sometimes? Yeah, but I think that comes with time. Running a new offense with people, it's not an excuse. Guys got to catch the ball. You're pros, they say if the ball touches your fingers, you're supposed to bring it in. Trevor has been putting the ball in spots where they are very, very catchable. Could it be better? Sure. But they're pros, they got to catch it. I don't think these guys lack confidence. I think guys may be at first trying too hard to make a play. I think in terms of Brian Thomas Jr., I think he wants to do well so bad because he's not used to this, right? And when you put a guy in a position where he's doing something that he's never done before, which is drop balls, he is about as eager as anybody to come out of it. And I think he's pressing. I don't think it's the yips or whatever they call it, or I don't think he's having some sort of what is it, a bad year because it's a sophomore jinx, or he doesn't like the way the balls are coming in from Trevor, or he was worried about a hit that he took. Maybe all of those things go into it, but I know he's a football player. He's been making collisions his whole life. At some point, I believe he is just trying to get past this. And when he caught that slant and he ran out of bounds and he threw that ball against the wall the other day, it just made you feel like it was just a sort of a monkey off of his back. Like, this is who I am. Now, our own should-be Hall of Famer Jimmy Smith on social media has mentioned that these guys' their stance is too high when they come out. I'd be interested to know if Edgar Bennett and Shane Waldron and all of those guys that teach this every day, if somebody told them that maybe they think that maybe you're right. Because obviously those guys have been around the league a long time, have coached. Edgar Bennett was a player who won championships, 2 of them. He won 1 Super Bowl, my bad. But they've been around a long time. They're obviously teaching it the way that they think is successful. So it gets to the point where you're wondering, okay, well, what is it? What's going on with them? Is it their stance? Are they coming out of their breaks too late? Is the ball late? Is the timing off? Whatever they got to do, I want them to get together and fix it. This is a good week for them to be able to do that. At some point, what they do will either, it's already cost them 1 game, I think. That and the pass interference penalty on Travis Hunter, who we'll talk about in just a second. But I really think a team like this in the 49ers, where you're not going to get the big plays to make up for the ones that you miss. They got the big play last week on offense. You're not going to get plays like that against the 49ers because they are traditionally a team that just doesn't give up big plays with the way that they play defense. So now the bugaboo for this game is you're going to force the execution aspect to work, or they'll be punting the ball. The Jaguars will be punting the ball a lot. That's why it's super, super important to me that the little things get done. The pre-snap penalties, the drops, not only from Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Etienne had one. That was a very, very critical drop. Parker Washington had 2. That was uncharacteristic. And Liam Cohen said he hasn't lost any confidence in Parker Washington. And I'm glad, because Parker Washington has been nothing but a confident player the entire time that he was here. And it looks like they're going to lean on him and Tim Patrick a little bit more. De'Ami Brown wasn't at practice again. And the injury report is not out, but it'll be out later today. And I suspect that he might miss some time. And if he doesn't, he won't be 100% himself. So I just think it's going to be on mainly Brian Thomas Jr., Brenton Strange, Travis Hunter, Parker Washington, Tim Patrick. You got to catch the ball, man. And when you catch it, understand that heat's going to come, because they play the way that they play defense. It's see ball, get ball. So everything usually stays in front of them because they're avoiding big plays. And this is coming from Liam Cohen in the way that he described it. He also described something else, and I'm going to send this shout out to somebody. He said that the Texans did some things to stop the run last week. it was shown on tape early in this week that the Texans lined up in more 5-man fronts than they had all year. I was in the press box the other day and I said, it's clear that the Jaguars thought they were going to be able to run the ball, and Houston is trying to make Trevor Lawrence beat them because they're saying, we're just not going to let you run the ball. And I had somebody somebody online said, that's totally not what's happening. Liam Cohen basically told you that's totally what they did. They just sold out to the run. They lined up in a different alignment than they had the first 2 games because they also, newsflash, other teams realize when they lose, they need to fix stuff. And other teams fix stuff. They sucked against the Rams and against the Bucks in trying to stop the run. So they loaded up the box against the team that going into last week's game was leading the league in rushing. And I love when people tell me that's totally not what they're doing. And I'm sitting right there in the press box watching them do it from an eye in the sky. And then to have the coach come out and confirm it, it just tells you. We really do try to teach y'all stuff on here, man. Everything ain't a competition. Everything isn't, well, actually. We're actually telling you. And then the coach comes out and says the exact same thing. And we're going to talk about Travis Hunter, just like when they were like, yeah, they drafted him to be a wide receiver because that's where the money is. And Liam Cohen said back in the preseason, no, this kid can roll out of bed and play corner. We're trying to get him right at wide receiver with all the things we're asking him to do. And that's also something that I told you. And then he has this huge impact last week on the 1 catch and mainly at corner against one of the best receivers in the league. So believe me when I say here on the Locked On Podcast Network, what we're trying to do, I'm not competing with anybody. What we're trying to do is just make this game easy for you to understand, because as Jaguar fans, y'all been through a lot. So it's not about me telling you how to fan. It's not about me trying to explain to you what you don't know. It's just I'm sharing ideas based on what I see. And what I see right now is I think the best case scenario for why these guys have been dropping the ball is because they want so badly to perform. They want so badly to find solutions and make up for mistakes. And combine that with things aren't quite lining up because they're all new. There's nothing new about pitching and catching. Quarterback throws, wide receivers got to catch it, especially when it's in his vicinity. That leaves us to talk about Travis Hunter, wide receiver and cornerback. We'll talk about his usage and talk about some things that I read online about they're not using him correctly. Woo, that's rich. We'll discuss that more here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, y'all. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Y'all know football season, man. It is right here. We're in the thick of the first quadrant of the football season, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. That's it, $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You heard me, $300. I tell you what, I love FanDuel, man, because it's the most consistent. You can look up data, get information prior to you making your selections. It is just absolutely fun to play, and it keeps you engaged whether your team is winning or losing. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, Locked On Jaguars here on a Wednesday. It's your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen. I'm going to read something here from SI that was attributed to Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, who I have a great feeling about as a human being, and what who he is and what he stands for. But I disagree with him. This is from SI. It says when let me give credit to who wrote the article, because I think it's somebody it's Ben Armendariz from Sports Illustrated. Says they're doing a recent appearance on a New Heights podcast with Jason and Travis Kelce. Coach Prime responded to questions about Travis Hunter, basically. When asked if he liked how the Jaguars had been using Hunter so far, Sanders' response was frank, doubling down on his response from a week ago. He says, no. They're not using him enough. I've seen it with my own eyes on an everyday basis for 3 straight years. So I know what he's capable of, and I know how you've got to take care of him. Liam Cohen basically said, we got to do a better job. We got to do a better job. And this is something else that was said. The more they use him, the more the other teams try him. You're going to see the plays. I just want to see them doing a better job of getting him involved in the offense. He's a big play waiting to happen. Cohen didn't disagree with it. He didn't. Deion also said and explained the system he built to get the most out of Hunter. And he said this, quote unquote, he never practices on Tuesday. He practices on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. He was ready to play 100 and some snaps on Saturday, so you didn't need to use him on Tuesday or Monday. You don't use him like that. That's where I disagree. Because even though Deion played in the league, Deion didn't coach in the NFL. And I don't know how much a guy is supposed to practice or supposed to not to practice. I do know that in the NFL, there's a higher degree of difficulty than it is at college in the Big 12 or at Jackson State. I do know I've been at practice and I watched the games. And I can tell you the last thing any rookie needs to do is just be put out there after practicing Wednesday and Thursday and Friday when I know one of those days is a walkthrough, and then sticking him out there and thinking that his natural ability is going to help him. That is not helping him out. The other thing the Jaguars have to focus on is the we. They have to win games. This ain't about highlighting a show or showing one guy off. Doesn't work like that. Saying the James Brown concert where he says Maceo, and Maceo starts blowing his horn, or then he introduces the drummer and everybody stops what they're doing and the drummer goes off on a solo. It's not about letting one guy cook. Now, if you do that and it's successful, then it opens things up for everybody else. But if this kid is spending multiple days in multiple rooms on multiple sides of the ball, he's probably not ready from a timing perspective to do all of those things. See, what I don't want us to fall into a trap of doing is expecting someone to be great just because we believe they are. And when that doesn't happen, point the finger and start blaming everybody else for it. This is the NFL. That can work somewhere else in college. That doesn't work in the National Football League. It doesn't. Travis Hunter's trying to do something that no one has done, including Deion Sanders. He didn't do what they're trying to get Travis to do, is be a great receiver and a great corner. It's new. And other players aren't going to stand around and let you do it. You got Nico Collins on one side of the ball, Derek Stingley on that. What do you think they're going to be doing when you just trying to let this dude cook? Football is different. And I'm not telling Deion Sanders anything he doesn't know. He understands that it's different. And Deion's supposed to feel the way that he feels. And you know what? Liam Cohen said, we got to help him out. So, look, this isn't about somebody being wrong. This is about somebody having an opinion and the coach saying, we got to help him out. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. He knows where to line up, but maybe we can do a little bit. And even sounds like what Liam is asking and wanting to do is to put less on his plate, less moving parts. And that's a quote from him, less moving parts. So we can just put him in a position where we can take advantage of his ability. I get it. I understand that they gave up 2 first-round picks and some change and some other stuff, second-round pick 2 and some change to move up to take Travis Hunter. And I know that people are going to sit there and measure statistics and impact to say whether that was worth it or not. But we got to remember what we're doing this for. We're doing this for us. And I think Travis is too. I've seen him be nothing but a great teammate. The Jags are 2-1, and because of him, they probably should be 3-0 because he did make a stop on 4th down. And they called a bogus flag. So my point is if they're 3-0, if they're one play away from being 3-0, why are we sitting here talking about what someone is doing wrong just because the impact and the statistics doesn't match the expectation of some people? He's a coach, man. He knows and understands this. Just like somebody asks him questions about his team, he'll say, we know what we're doing. You don't know what we're doing. Doesn't that go for Liam Cohen? Doesn't they know what they're doing in practice? And anybody, I don't care how many years you played, Rex Ryan can sit up and if I can say it about Rex Ryan, I can say it about Deion Sanders too. How do you know what they're doing and what they're asking to do? Is he telling you that? Because he can sure tell them that. They're very transparent with him. Liam Cohen just said they asked him, how can we help you? I think Travis Hunter's great. I think he's going to be great. I think sometimes you got to walk before you crawl. And this doesn't make me a loser in life at all. We've seen a lot of people struggle at first, and then all of a sudden you saw them bust out and they started doing all of the things. Jamar Chase struggled when he in the preseason, but then what happened as soon as the lights came on? Bang. Trevor Hunter's going to get his chance. But we got to remember, it's all eyes on we. It's a team game. The Jaguars go win this game and be 3-1, and Travis does what he's supposed to do to help this team. That is fine with me. And it should be fine with anybody that wants the Jacksonville Jaguars to do well and not just one player. I think sometimes in defense of people, we actually put too much pressure headed in that direction, too much scrutiny from people that really don't understand. Travis Hunter is fine. And it just goes back to something that my man Mike Jones will tell you. I said this to him, and I said it to anybody else, and y'all have heard me say this. Maybe his impact is going to not necessarily be defined by how well he does statistically, but how much he actually impacts the game as long as the Jaguars win. And I think that's more important than anything else. All right, man. The crossover edition is tomorrow. Make sure it's all around our network here on Locked On Jaguars, Locked On NFL. Make sure you check out Locked On NFL. In fact, each and every day, there's 2 shows twice a day. Tyler rolling early in the morning, and then me, I'll come through it in the afternoon in the barbershop and give you what you're used to getting from me with the help of local experts from around our network to have their finger on the pulse of their team. Until then, you guys take care. We thank you for joining us. And we appreciate these 28 minutes each and every day. And we'll see you next time here on Locked On Jaguars.